Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asiya, and this is my Revert story. I have always, since developing an ability to think deeply, believed in the existence of a single creator, on whom everything that exists is dependent. Though my parents are Buddhist, from the age of 13 to this creator, I have steadfastly prayed and yielded guidance from every day that I can remember. Yet, being schooled within a Christian environment, I naturally identified myself as a Christian. Sadly, my knowledge of Islam was minimal. I perceived it as a bizarre religion, limited to only a few underdeveloped nations, most of which were in the Middle East, and which endorsed an astoundingly suppressive lifestyle, particularly for women. Muslim women, I presumed, were considered inferior, a passive domestic slave, bashed often and forced to compete among four for her husband's affections, which he could withhold from them all if he wanted to. The majority of these ideas I developed from hearsay, interactions with others I assumed knew what they were talking about, and a few documentaries on Iran and Saudi Arabia I watched on television. As I entered university nearly 3 years ago, I came into contact with quite a number of Muslim students from various backgrounds. Strangely enough, even to myself, I was drawn to them and developed a curious inclination to learn and understand more about their religion. I observed how content they seemed and was very impressed by their openness and warmth towards myself and each other, but more importantly, with their pride in belonging to a religion which holds many negative connotations. I gradually became fascinated with Islam, and through a process of education, developed a greater respect for it than even my beloved Christianity. I was stunned at how wrong my previous conception had been, and became particularly overwhelmed at the tremendous entitlements, equality, and acknowledgement Islam provided for women. I realized the reality of the Islamic lifestyle and the truth concerning that feeble American innovation termed Islamic fundamentalism. It is said that any person who possesses the faculty of reason and an open mind should recognize logic and truth when he or she encounters it, and so it was in my case. More and more, literature, signs, and evidence were revealed to me, and more, my intellect was stimulated and my heart warmed. I wanted to know everything about Islam, and felt already a sense of brotherhood with and belonging among its followers. What impressed me the most was how practical Islam is, how it encompasses a rule and a lesson for almost every facet of living. And by the sheer grace of God, I at last understood the faults of Christian theology and of the concepts I had previously accepted unquestioningly. At midday on August 4th, before over 20 witnesses, I recited the Shahada and became an official Muslim. I shall never forget the bliss of that day and how much my life has turned around in only a year's time. I have often been asked, what is it like to be a revert, and of the difficulties I must endure. Though I do not wish to dwell on this topic, as pity is not my priority, I shall give some examples of what I have been through. The period up till the end of Ramadan was, by far, the hardest to get through. Family disputes took place almost daily. I was showered with verbal abuse, ridicule, and threats. On many occasions, my room was physically torn apart, books mysteriously disappeared, and slanderous phone messages were sent to my friends and their parents. There have been times I have been locked out of home and forced to abstain from dinner as pork was deliberately served. Even to this day, all my mail is opened before I have the chance to do so myself. Apart from my housing and meals, I must provide for myself financially. My readings, as my conversations over the phone, are done in privacy. My writings and my visits to mosques or other Islamic venues must always be concealed. I am similarly not able to visit friends very often, as I may be brainwashed even more. I cannot perform my prayers until I am sure no one is around. Nor can I express my excitement and celebration during Ramadan. I cannot share the joy at knowing yet another sister has put on a hijab. Nor can I discuss the lesson I have learned this day or the speech given by an Islamic scholar or scientist. Moreover, I must continuously defend the Muslims and the Islam portrayed on the media and fight against the stereotypes my parents stubbornly maintain. To see their expressions of disgust at myself is almost unbearable. I am now insecure as to my parents' affections and constantly worry of how much I am hurting them. Through the entire month of Ramadan, my mother spoke to me not once. I had to hear her say time and time again at how I had betrayed the family. My pleading with her otherwise was to no avail. I am told over and over again that what I have done is unforgivable, and if any of our relations or already few friends knew, my parents would surely be outcasts. However, I do not claim to have a miserable life. I am more content and at peace now than I have ever been. My purpose in relating all of this is to try to display the opportunities that many of you have, which are so often taken for granted, so little taken advantage of, but so precious to many reverts like myself. To reflect on these hardships alone would imply I have gained nothing by becoming a Muslim other than pain. On the contrary, Islam has given me already so many vast rewards. I shiver to think of how much more wonderful the gifts of paradise would be.